Hi and hello from Boston, Massachusetts. Oliver Freudenreich or Dr. F here for the Psychopharmacology Institute. In this quick take today, I am going to discuss antipsychotic switching. Switching antipsychotics is something we do all the time. So when I saw that a colleague of mine from Germany, Christoph Korell, wrote a piece in the journal CNS Drugs with the title Strategies for Switching Between Oral Postsynaptic Antipsychotics in Patients with Schizophrenia, a systematic review, my interest was piqued. What do we actually know about switching from the clinical literature, not just based on your own experience? Clinically, the issue is quite relevant, as patients want to try a different antipsychotic all the time, at least in my practice, either because of side effects or insufficient efficacy. So switching antipsychotics is a critical clinical skill for psychiatrists or anyone who prescribes antipsychotics. This manuscript provides a nice introductory section about the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of antipsychotics, and also a discussion about rebound and withdrawal phenomena and different types of switches informed by pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic principles. I think having some basic knowledge of a drug's receptor profile, the degree of dopamine blockade, and half-lives are important and helpful. But the review wanted to examine what we actually know from the clinical trials about different switching strategies. So let us go to this part of the manuscript. I will not bore you with the technical details, other than to say that this was a standard systematic review of relevant data based on the English literature that netted 80 articles. And of those 80, 58 were studies and 22 were reviews or meta-analyses. Now, this is important. Dr. Correll only included oral antipsychotics, so long-acting injectable antipsychotics were not covered. And the biggest gap in this review, not his fault, was that the newest approved antipsychotic in the United States, CarXT or xanomeline, was not included. You may recall that this new medicine works through mechanisms other than primary dopamine blockade through the cholinergic system, even though downstream there are still effects on dopamine. So, arguably the main conclusion from this review is that there were only 4 studies that reported outcomes between different switch strategies, namely for aripiprazole, clozapine, iloperidone, and ziprasidone. Put differently, for the majority of our medications, you will find very little guidance in the clinical trial literature. Let me add Dr. Correll's 2 main conclusions. 1, future research is needed, particularly for switching between antipsychotics with different pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic characteristics, and for antipsychotic switches that are potentially prone to rebound or withdrawal symptoms. And 2, gradual switching methods were preferred as they may improve tolerability and as they may reduce rebound phenomena in patients with stable schizophrenia. Unfortunately, I think the area of antipsychotic switching will always remain an orphan of clinical research. So you will have to come up with your own clinical expertise, how to switch antipsychotics. So I don't want to leave you hanging, but would instead like to offer my own 6 clinical points about switching on the outpatient side, consistent with the manuscript. And I say this because, by the way, switching on the outpatient side may be different from the inpatient side, where the outpatient side switching is usually not an emergency, but an elective decision, if you will, that you can plan ahead. So I'm really talking about outpatient switches. 1, switch gradually, but switch. So while I agree with the conclusion to switch antipsychotics gradually, I also want to caution against doing it too slowly, which is a recipe, I think, for the so-called stalled taper resulting in no switch, but polypharmacy instead. The goal of a switch is to switch and not ending up on 2 antipsychotics. Set this up as an expectation with your patient, and while you can show some flexibility, you always must keep this goal in mind. For most patients, I think a switch can be accomplished in 1 or 2 months, maximum 3, I would say. Once you go beyond that, I think you run the real risk for a stalled taper or the so-called eternal taper. 2, many drugs can be switched using a cross-titration, specifically a plateau cross-titration, where you introduce the new antipsychotic gradually and only begin to reduce the old antipsychotic once you have achieved steady state with the new antipsychotic at a therapeutic dose. This avoids leaving patients unprotected due to subtherapeutic antipsychotic blood levels, and it also minimizes rebound phenomena. 3. Be careful when using drugs with overlapping side effect profiles, including QTC prolongation, antipsychotics that are sedating, or antipsychotics that bind to dopamine tightly, causing EPS, and last, drugs that cause orthostatic hypotension. In this case, when you do a cross-titration, you may want to begin reducing the old antipsychotic earlier before you reach the full target dose of the new antipsychotic to reduce the additive side effects. 4. Keep it simple. Patients will find ways to mess up your carefully laid out cross-titration schedule if you make it too complicated. And here's a clinical corollary. See patients regularly during a switch, for example, weekly, and involve family or other so-called stakeholders that will help you implement your plan if that's applicable. 5. Prepare your patient prior to the switch, including reducing polypharmacy and high-dose antipsychotics, and do this before you officially begin this switch. I think this is time well spent to have an eventual successful switch. And finally, 6, one special note about clozapine. Be careful when stopping clozapine abruptly, which you may have to do if there's a serious side effect like agranulocytosis. Be careful when you stop clozapine abruptly, as you can cause a complex picture of cholinergic rebound and a withdrawal delirium psychosis. You may need to add an anticholinergic during this period. Okay, so much for my 6 clinical points about switching. I hope my comments help you approach the next antipsychotic switch with some confidence, even if, as we have seen, the literature is somewhat limited. Thank you for listening to this quick take today.